break beginning, but hasn't hurt us too bad. You're here and you're special, and makes a good number by your presence. Thank you. Hope you can be with us tonight for our study will be about facing mountains, or could title it, Lord, you gave me a mountain this time. So I hope you'll be with us. It's a lesson's got a lot of good material in it, I think, and helpful to all of us maybe. But we are appreciative of your presence. Good to have our visitors. Especially glad to have our friends Guy and Lisa Goddard with us today. And any of you that are visiting, you're welcome as the sunshine and as the rain would be. We appreciate you. We're very proud McKenna Stainbrook is here today, and she was in that accident, lost a finger about 10 days ago, but she's here and was at Vanderbilt Hospital, and we're very thankful. And Kathy is the great aunt and this lovely little girl, 4-year-old, and so a lot of prayers have been answered. We're very thankful. All right, the lesson this morning is titled 10 Commandments for Our Youth, or young people. When preachers get together, preachers luncheon, often you talk about if there's some kind of an embarrassing moment has come up in any time recent. Sometimes preachers talk about wearing a mobile mic into the bathroom. That could be pretty embarrassing during a church service. And sometimes it's, one preacher was telling about door knocking, and this lady came to the door, and I don't know what it was about the situation, but when he started to introduce himself, he couldn't think of his name. That's pretty embarrassing. I haven't had that bad a memory situation. Sometimes we do have brain freeze and all kinds of embarrassing. My most embarrassing moment in preaching was for many years beginning to preach down at the Fairview congregation, a young man, and I was at that time, and I used to use note cards, 4 or 6 cards, and I'd have a stack of them numbered in numerical order of my lesson. And I was in a big way of preaching, and I hit that stack of cards, and they go flying, flipping, and over here and over there. And the most embarrassing thing about it was, though, I'm a young preacher. Today I could have just gone on, hopefully, but then I had to go around and pick each one of them up and put them in the right order. So I had to say, time out, one moment, please, here. We got a technical problem. So that was very embarrassing. But my most embarrassing moment was regarding young people. Some years ago, a youth minister came by the house, and he was working with a big congregation in Salina and Clay County, and they had united a lot of the congregation together in Clay County, and they were going to have a special honor and recognition of, I thought he said, our teenagers. He wanted me to speak to their teenagers. It's going to be a big deal. A lot of folks are going to be there, and they're going to have to provide a meal and all that. I said, well, I'd be honored to. There had been a recent sermon in the Gospel Advocate about 10 commandments for teenagers or young people. I really liked it. It had some good material, and I'd already given it once at Sycamore, so I thought, well, yeah, that's what I'll do. And so I worked it up again, and get to the building, and the parking lot's full of cars. I thought, well, these young people over here, they all of them got a car, and that's pretty good. And I opened the door, though, all I see was slick heads and gray heads. And I thought, what in the world is going on? And I ran and found the preacher, the youth minister, Mike Moore. His nickname was Bird Dog. That should have told me something. But I said, Bird Dog, what's going on? You told me to come and speak to teenagers. He said, oh, I said keen-agers, K-E-E-N. He said, I thought you knew that's what we call our senior Christians over here. We call them keen-agers. They're not teenagers anymore. But I said, man, I've never heard that before in my whole life. And I said, I've got a lesson for teenagers. And he said, well, it's time to start. You're going to have to go right now. I said, what am I going to do? He said, you can adapt it. You've been preaching all these years. Just adapt it. And I foolishly agreed to try to do that. And, well, you'll find out what happened when I get to the point. But anyway, I should have just taken Psalms 23 and read it, Wayne, and just talked about Psalms. But I went with his idea of 10 commandments for teenagers and tried to make it fit to teenagers. And, well, anyway, last Sunday when we had the young people up here, the Bible bowlers, and they were filled the pew and they were out on the floor, you sit with pride in looking upon all or 20-something of the kids and young people and their participation in Bible Bowl, and how proud the parents and grandparents, Ben and Jesse here today, are not been able to be here last Sunday, but they worked hard for Bible Bowl. Their team with Brittany and Caitlin, all right, I knew that. Came in 19th out of the 300 and something teams, so they did well. And I'm sorry, Caitlin, I knew better. But anyhow, we were all very proud and looking upon all them. And then, I got to thinking about, we got a lot of other young people here that are not in Bible Bowl, but really good kids and we're really proud of. Some of the ones came back to encourage the Bible Bowlers, like Aspen and Sarah came back, and there was old Devin Allison. He was there. I don't know if he was there for Daniel or for Caitlin, but anyway, probably for Caitlin. But anyway, his little brother was there too. So, you look at all these that were there in the then and all the young people that we have. So I got to thinking this week, I need to go back, pull that old sermon up, 10 Commandments for Teenagers, and because I hadn't done anything for them in a sermon in a long, long time, and should have been. So that's what we got today, 10 Commandments for young people, and it will have my most embarrassing breakdown when we get to one of the commandments. So anyway, God gave the 10 Commandments for a reason, the real 10 Commandments, and of course it was for guidance for God's people. It was to reward God's people when they lived by them. And it was also to receive blessings from God when they recognized the wisdom of His Word and His will. So the 10 Commandments have reward and blessings and guidance. These 10 Commandments for young people also have guidance within them. The good song, Brother Wayne led us, how shall the young secure their hearts and keep their lives from sin? Thy word, its choicest rules and parts, to keep the conscience clean. So we do need young people and their parents and grandparents. All of us need guidance, and we can find reward and blessing when we seek His commandments. I don't know who came up with this little sermon. As I said, it was in the Gospel Advocate. I've added a few things, but it is well written. I hope you'll see that, sort of a play on words. Commandment number 1. Don't let your parents down. They brought you up. Don't let them down. They brought you up. Guy like that point. Our parents brought us into this world, and it is through them that we hopefully have been the recipient of many blessings and many sacrifices. We've lived in a better economy than my parents lived in, so I've had a lot more to be given to me and shared with me than my parents ever thought about having, of course, and lived through hard times. Parents make a lot of sacrifices. They love their children. That's why they do it. So young people need to remember who you are. When you're out, you're involved in things, you are tempted, you're in situations, remember who you are, who you belong to, who brought you into this world, who loves you the most, who's done all these things for you, and who has sacrifice for you. Who loves you? Well, it's your parents. They brought you into this world and they brought you up. Don't let them down is the first commandment. In Genesis 2:23 and 24, the first utterance of Adam is that this is bone of my bone, talking about Eve, and flesh of my flesh, she shall be called woman, because she was taken from man. For this reason shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. You leave and cleave. I like that. You leave your parents. Didn't say forsake them. Some people forsake their parents. They do not honor their mother and father when they get elderly and need help. They were there when you and I needed to be fed and we couldn't feed ourselves. They were there when we needed help because we're not able to help ourselves. It sort of becomes a cycle in the latter years. Sometimes they need help, and to honor them is far more than giving them little flowers or candy on Mother's Day or Father's Day or Christmas. The most greatest honor you can give to them is to love the Lord and to be faithful and remember them all of your life. So, commandment number 1, don't let your parents down, they brought you up. Number 2, obey your parents, for this is right. Obey your parents, this is right. It's the right thing to do. And you're going to be the boss someday of your own family, perhaps, and then you'll see how important it is to obey your parents. In Romans chapter 1 and verse 30, when Paul is listing all the sinful conditions of a world that's reprobate to God and full of ungodliness, he describes in verse 30, they were backbiters and haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, and disobedient to their parents. Now that shows you what we're talking about, how important it is that that's even listed in this category of terrible sins. It is a terrible thing to not obey your parents. And in Ephesians 6 verses 1 and 2, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. It's the right thing to do. Honor thy father and mother, that it may be well with thee, which is the first commandment with promise. So the second commandment is obey your parents, and you're going to become the boss someday. You'll appreciate it. Do this because it's the right thing. Number 3, think before you drink. Young people, youth, think before you drink. Should be think there, I guess. Anyway, let's talk about it. Let's let God talk to us a little bit about this thinking before we drink. From Proverbs 29, questions by the writer Solomon. Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of the eyes? Answer, they that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine or drinks. Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, and giveth its color in the cup, and moveth itself aright. At last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder. Thine eyes shall behold strange women, thine heart shall utter perverse things under the influence of alcohol. And, yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea when you're drunk, rolling around, falling on the ground. Or as he that lieth on the top of a mast. I mean, you are just helpless. They've stricken me, that's what the drunk says, and they say, I was not sick. They've beaten me, that's what it feels like, but I felt it not. Yet shall I awake, I will seek it again. I will seek it again. Addiction. How could anybody, when you look at how foolish people, the comedians will often imitate the drunkard and their foolish actions and ways of living and doing and saying things. And you think, well, anybody that's so stupid to be under the influence of alcohol, they'll surely never do that again. Oh, it's an addiction to it. There's a power to it. And it pulls them right back into it. We need to remember, young people, that in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 11, that Paul described, know ye not, the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves of mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, and only goes to say, shall inherit the kingdom of God. Galatians 5 and verse 21, among the list of the works of the flesh are those drunken, envies, murders, right after murders, drunkenness, and such cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. That shows to us the seriousness of it. Yet some people argue, other young people that try to get others to drink, and they say, oh, you're a big sissy if you don't drink. No, you're courageous. You're strong. You don't go with the flow. You're somebody of principle. Hey, I don't drink. I don't need that junk. I don't want it. That's a strong person, not a weak person. They say, well, everybody's doing it. No, they're not. Not everybody's doing it. There are people that have high morals and integrity. They know the danger, and that it takes away restraint. It takes away judgment. I was always afraid as a young person to drink, because I was always afraid, what if I did something stupid, committed a crime, and spend years of my life in prison over something that I would never, ever contemplate doing, not under the influence of alcohol. It takes away judgment. It takes away reason. It's the leading cause of criminal acts. It's always involved nearly in criminal action and activities. The power of alcohol and drinking. Think before you drink. Well, they also sometimes will reason and say, well, it won't hurt anything. Well, just look at all the violent things that are done under the influence of alcohol. It will hurt, and it does hurt. Well, the question, who has sorrow, who has woes, all those questions, the mamas who are there with the tears running down their face, the prayers they pray for their children. We took a group of our young people, I've told you all this before some years ago, but to see Sister Lyda Hicks one time, and she wanted the young people to come over and sing for her. And so we did, took a bunch of them, and she told the young people how her dad was an alcoholic and a drunk. And that she told her mama when she started dating, she said, Mama, if I ever start dating somebody that drinks, just take me out behind the house and cut my head off. Well, those young people sat there and their eyes got as big as a saucer, you know. But what she was saying was, that's how much it hurts. And that's how foolish I would be if I were to start dating someone who drinks. Do not get involved. Think before you drink. Number 4, ditch dirty thoughts before they ditch you. Ditch dirty thoughts before they ditch you. Play on words, but a pretty good one. Proverbs 23 and verse 7 says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And if you keep things of wrongdoing on your heart and in your mind, it's going to come forth. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. In Matthew 5 and verse 8, blessed are the pure in heart, they shall see God. And in chapter 15 of Matthew, he describes the situation quite well in verse 18. Those things that proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile the man. Out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, and murders, and adulteries, and fornications, thefts, and false witness, and blasphemies. These are the things that defile a man, but not to eat with unwashed hands. So the point is, where our minds are is where we're going to be led. And that's the power of pornographic material, that it leads you into areas of sinful lust and wrongdoing. Cannot be anything good come out of it. And you continually fill your mind full of garbage. That garbage is going to have its effect. So you ditch dirty thoughts before they ditch you. Philippians 4 and verse 8 would be the answer. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, and whatsoever things are honest, and whatsoever things are just, and whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Ditch dirty thoughts before they ditch you. Number 5, choose a date that's fit for a mate. Now go with me to Salina now. I'm doing, there's never been a better quarterback try to shuffle around and move around than I was doing. I was sweating it. I'm trying to work these into discussion with senior Christians, and so far I've made it. I made it. Not real good, but I've got by. I've scrambled. You know, that's what a good quarterback does. He scrambles, and I'm scrambling, and I'm holding on. I'm trying to get through this lesson. So it works. They do. Senior Christians, there are a lot of times situations where their loved ones have passed on, and so they are still dating and that's looking for a mate in the second stages of their lives sometimes. So find your date that's fit for a mate, okay? You would never date someone who's not a Christian. Never. Go to where Christians are. Go to church. Go to be in Bible classes, young people. Be with other Christian young people. You're not going to find a date fit for a mate in the bar room, okay? But you will in the church. Go to church. One of our young men here looking for a date said that he was going to go to different congregations around on Sunday evening and try to find him a good Christian girl who would be in church. Well, I'm telling you what, I hate to see him not be with us, but he's thinking right. He's looking around. Maybe he'll find one here or somewhere. He will if he keeps looking in church. That's the right place. Choose a date that's fit for a mate. Some years ago, Barbara Walters was interviewing Donny Osmond. Donny Osmond was a big celebrity and great talent and good looking with Marie, his sister. You still see her on television quite a bit. But they were very, very popular, and he was very handsome. He was being interviewed by Barbara Walters, and she brought up the question. She said, Donny, your family, your mom and daddy and grandparents are all Mormons. He said, that's right. And she said, what would happen if you were to marry someone that was not a Mormon? He said, Barbara, that'll never happen. She said, now just go along with me, okay? What if you were to marry somebody? He said, Barbara, that will never happen. I won't tell you this. That'll never happen. She said, how can you so confidently say that will never happen? He said, I'm never going to date anybody that's not a Mormon. Duh. You know? Now, I don't agree with the Mormon teachings, but I tell you what, that's pretty smart right there. I'll never date anybody that's not a Mormon, so no, I would never marry someone that's not a Mormon. So we should never date someone who's not a Christian. We should date someone who has high morals and Christian values. Marry a Christian. 1 Peter 3:7, that we might be heirs together of the grace of life. Number 6, don't go steady until you're ready. Now, I had a little problem with that one, but I faked it and got through it. Don't go steady until you're ready. I thought, okay, we can hang here. So I don't know if young people still go steady today or not, but I do hear young people talking about that, and I'm talking about like 8th and 9th and freshmen in high school, you know, they talking about they got a regular girlfriend or boyfriend, what we used to call going steady, you know. They're not dating anybody else. They're not talking. They don't do a lot of dating at that age, but they don't talk to anybody. They don't text anybody except this one person. And so they get far too serious, too young about one person. You don't go steady until you're ready. You don't commit yourself. It's too serious a matter and too dangerous, too big difficulty. Number 7, pick the right friends. Pick the right friends. I'm still doing okay with my senior Christians because they need to pick the right friends too. 1 Corinthians 15:33, be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners. That's the good old King James. But the New King James says, be not deceived, evil companions corrupt good morals. And I understand that maybe a little bit better in that situation. But it's very, very true. Friends have a great influence on young people. They want to be like their friends, and it's easily to be persuaded. I remember those days and how I could be very good when I was with certain very good Christian boys, and I could be very tempted when I was with those who were much more interested in things of wrongdoing. And it's easy when you're young to be pulled in the wrong direction. We need good friends who are strong influence. Personalities change by the influence of others, sadly. It's so heartbreaking to see some young people brought up in the church, good parents, good Christian home, and yet they get with this bad company, someone who's not spiritually minded, and they pull them in a matter of a few weeks away from the teaching and the influence of the good home and family. How sad. Pick the right friends. Number 8. Act your age in a car. That's where I lost it right there. The idea is, back then, you know, it was a big deal to be 16 and get your driver's license and get to drive. And so the thought was, don't act like a little juvenile, 12, 13, 14-year-old. You're 16 now, and you're driving. So make some good decisions, okay? Don't be foolish. But I look back at this audience full of gray heads and slick heads, and I just lost it. Act your age in a car, and there's 70 and 80-year-old folks sitting there. So I explained to them. I said, I won't tell you all. I've gone as far as I can go with this. Bird Dog Moore has talked me into trying to fake these 10 commandments to teenagers, and I've done a terrible job, and I apologize. Well, it went over about like a lead balloon, I'm telling you. They just sort of sat there. I think they wondered, what in the world is going on? Who has he brought in here? I was never invited to hold any gospel meetings in Clay County. That sort of ended my influence in that area for any good. Act your age in a car. Teenagers, cars take thousands of lives every year. The most dangerous thing in the world, more dangerous than a cocked gun, I think, is an automobile in the hands of young people. You've got to be careful. You've got to be mindful. Careless driving, they used to say, is kid stuff, and I like that. And the texting thing, it can wait. I love that campaign because it's really true. And so many of you are texting and driving and talking, and it's a dangerous thing. Use some maturity. Act your age in a car. Number 9, love God and love your neighbor. To love God, the good reading that Joey did, is the whole matter of importance. Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. In Matthew 22, verses 35 through 40, Jesus was asked by a lawyer concerning the most important commandment, 35. he asked him in 36, Master, what is the great commandment? 37, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. The second is likened unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So love God and love your neighbor. Treat him by the golden rule. And commandment number 10, live carefully, the soul you save may be your own. You have been given by God all this talent and ability in your life. How quickly it can end by foolish decisions. How quickly it can be destroyed by foolish decisions. It's an awesome responsibility. When you're young, you've got the whole world ahead of you. So many of you have the ability. You could be whatever you want to be. Mentally, you know, you're blessed, and we're so proud of you and your achievements. Don't let Satan derail you. You know, live carefully. Live close to God and close to his word. Thy word shall guide our youth. And how true that is. Well, these are 10 commandments for teenagers or young people. And they're pretty smart. They're pretty good. We should remember to not let our parents down. They brought us up. Obey your parents. This is the right thing to do. Think before you drink. Ditch dirty thoughts before they ditch you. Choose a date that's fit for a mate. Don't go steady until you're ready. Pick the right friends. Act your age in a car. Love God and love your neighbor. Live carefully. The soul you save may be your own. If there's one precious person here today that's not a child of God or an unfaithful one, we'd love to encourage you to do something about that. There's a great big world out there of opportunity and blessing, and we are blessed. The 10 commandments from God were for blessing, reward, and for guidance. These little 10 commandments, they're pretty good. Whoever came up with them, they will give direction and guidance, blessings and rewards, if you'll only submit to the wisdom behind them. Isn't it time that you became a Christian? Isn't it time you came back to the Lord? If you've fallen away. While we stand and while we sing.